Good afternoon. We're waiting on a few participants to arrive at Jim Miles Center. Thank you for your patience.
A little bit of feedback on our end.
I just unmuted. You might want to say it again.
Okay. Just make sure everybody virtually is muted because we were getting a little bit of feedback. Asking him how far out he is, if he's, I mean, he's just at Scott Lake too, so. Thank you guys for meeting with us today. I did want to remind people on the virtual side that we are live streaming through our YouTube channel, and Laura is also recording the meeting. All right, so after looking at the magistrate's recommendations, particularly with the teacher salary increase allocation, we had started to play around a little bit with some compression to see if there was something that we could come up with that we could be okay with. And so with playing around with some different ways of compressing with grouping, like doing one group of compression, then another group of compression, we were able to get to $45,172. But by grouping the compression a little bit differently, which really isn't much different from what you guys actually proposed, but just by grouping it slightly differently, we were able to get more money on the backside for teachers that are on the performance side, level 12 and above. And so we'll go ahead and we'll keep 5 for us. And then here is the 10 for your side. And PEA team, we're looking at, did I send you the right one, Laura? Yeah. PEA team, we're looking at the documents that you were sent last week.
It's still dated September. Is that the right one?
It should, on the bottom, say February 25th. So let me
The very bottom.
at the very bottom.
No. Go all the way up. Scroll all the way up. That's one.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault. Here, let me. Sorry, let me send it again. The document says 218, but that's one I had. So there you go. So you should have that now. Sorry about that. So if we flip, let's look at the performance part first. I think that will. So when you get to the performance proposed schedule, what we ended up doing, instead of, you guys had one big compression block from 001 to 0012, we broke it up into 001 to 008 was compressed, which on the placement schedule is years 0 to 3 experience if they're coming into Polk County. And then 9, 10, and 11, we did another compression, which on the placement schedule for people coming into Polk County now would be experience years 4, 5, and 6. And then after 11, level 11, on the performance side, 12 and above didn't have to compress anymore. And so with dropping down some of the vacancies.
So are you looking at the color page? This one with A, B, and C?
Sorry, I was looking at the one before it with the placement schedule to show the compression part. And then once it's colored, I colored in the compression. What would be on the next page? What would be compressing, and then what would after level 12 would just roll into the $300 increments like we have right now. I was when we were talking too, we were also thinking while we're changing this one way or the other, maybe labeling the levels differently. Because I know a common question that we get is people see that they're on level 15 and they associate that with 15 years of experience, which is not the case. We know that when you come in on the performance schedule, the way it's currently, the way the law is written right now, you're placed based on years of experience coming into the district, and then you move based on effective or highly effective evaluations, and that's decided at bargaining every year. And so, but I even had a teacher say, well, how can somebody have 68 years of experience? Well, it's not years of experience. So we were thinking that while we're changing things, we might want to go to a lettering system instead of a numbering system for pay for performance. that might be clearer for people so that they don't associate the level with years of teaching. And so essentially we were able to get to your minimum base, just reworked the compression slightly. And we had dropped the vacancies down from the initial vacancies, and we were able to get 1,500 to the people 12 levels 12 and above by still getting to $45,172 for the minimum base. And we agree with you that was the highest we could go. I had tried a few different things even, and that was the highest I could get without messing up the $300 levels at the back end. And so essentially, people that are in 001 right now would receive the 4,200 as they would under your proposal, and it would go down $300 all the way until tier 8, just like yours, where they would still get the 2,100. But what we've done is that tier 9 would also get 2,100, and then level 10 would then drop down 300 to 1,800. And sorry, I'm just going through to the compression part, so that how they're all rolling up. I'm just explaining. Yes, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So a part of the law, or part of how we read the law, not only did we need to raise the minimum salary to as close to 47.5 as we could get, but also the 80 and the 20.
Yeah.
And so in the compression or in the document that you have provided us today, does that account for the 80 and the 20
Yes.
as well?
It actually pretty closely mirrored to what we costed out for your proposal that's on the table now.
Okay.
Of spending, and so it's pretty close to what you guys had proposed. I think they're within like not even 1%. So that's why we're bringing this to you, because we think that we've been able to regroup the compression a little bit, but still mirror the 80-20 split.
Okay.
And so that's why we wanted to bring this to you today, because we think we figured out something that is beneficial to everybody. It gets more money to teachers on the back end. It still gets the minimum up to where we do agree, based on the working with the compression, that this is the highest we can get. And just to be clear too, we fought the compression because that compression isn't the way to go. We know that longevity of schedules.
Is what?
I said compression isn't the way to go.
Oh, okay.
And that's why we proposed initially the distribution that we proposed. But in light of the magistrate's decision, we now know that compression is inevitable. And so we wanted to look at ways that could benefit our veteran teachers, but still get to that minimum base salary that, you guys have said that is the highest you can get to. And even back in March when this budget came out, Mr. Perone and I were talking, and from our preliminary calculations, we even thought that we could probably get between 44 and 45. And that's really where we've landed here with the amount of allocation that we have received from the state for this money. We don't go over, so you're not spending anything out of your general fund to supplement this. And so we thought that this was a valid proposal to bring to you guys. And I know that we have 2 hours blocked off for this, so I didn't know, Heather, if you wanted your team. I know there's a few other things that you guys want to talk about too. If you wanted your team while we're talking about some of the other stuff to try to do a cost out, if we wanted to look at this further, but we definitely wanted to bring this forward to you because we think that it really meets what we've all wanted to begin with. We want to try to get as much money as we can to our veteran teachers, and we still get to the minimum that I think both sides agree to. Using compression is the highest that we can go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned vacancies. Could you revisit that and explain?
So we had a lot of vacancies, or in September, the district's proposal had heavy vacancies in that base level 001 category. And then throughout the semester, they've lowered. And so we've just adjusted it to match more of the numbers that Tedra had sent out, I think right before the magistrate, which was in like the 40 range of vacancies. And so it matches more of what we have now versus the number that was in September.
So what I propose, thank you. Number one, I appreciate you all taking a look at it. I appreciate you all really kind of digesting what the magistrate has said, coming back and proposing something different. What I'd like to do is, based on this, I'd like for our team to kind of get together and figure it out. Okay. So that's going to require a bit more time than we have today, but I'd like for us to really go through and digest it. One of the things I'd also like to ask for is your breakdown. Like, how did you kind of get here? I think when we normally provide
I'll send that
proposal, we say that there are 30 people on this level, 80 people on that level. So we would like to see that so that we can agree to that. I really appreciate the 45,172. I think, obviously we don't have a problem with that base number. And likewise, I think we are also trying to get teachers as much money as possible, prior to all of this happening. And so hopefully we can get it done sooner rather than later. And we can go from there. So we'll see. I don't know about my team, and we can consult about it, but I agree with you about the levels. It's totally confusing to me coming in. When I came in 5 years ago, I was perplexed, and Laura beat it through my head that it's levels and not steps.
Or experience. Right. People want to equate it with experience, and and I think this would make it. So I
actually like the A, B, and C. Let me just see if that is. I think that's something we can do that is easy. It's an easy thing for us to do. But let me really kind of look at it, and then we can go from there.
Okay. I figured we might as well, because if either way, even with yours, levels would be changing anyway, because people in groups would be now placed on 001 or 002. So if we're having to change things internally anyway, we might as well change it to something that makes a little bit more sense and is maybe clearer for people that are coming in, to look at. And I'll send you the Excel sheet when we get back to the office.
Okay.
But it's the same numbers that that were in the spreadsheets that we had sent before. We used the same data that we had from the September cost out that you guys had sent. We just decreased the vacancies out of that level. I keep saying level 001 to better reflect what we have currently.
Okay.
So, but I'll send that over to you guys once we get back to the office.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Okay. All right. Oh, and just for clarification for everybody too, that's virtual, that's on your team, with the SLP, or not SLPs, with the school sites and the OTPTs, just like we've done, and even your side did, the lowest level, the 1,500 was applied to all of them. So on the school sites and the OTPTs. So they're, so they would be getting a $1,500 increase, just like the lowest money tier in this proposal.
And what is OTPT?
The occupational and physical therapists.
1,500 as well.
Yeah. So I kept with that pattern. You guys had applied the 650 to them, which was your lowest. We had applied the 1120, which was our lowest. So I just continued with that consistency. And I will, I know both sides have sent their proposed recommendations to the board for the legislative hearing on March 16th. We plan to update and send this to Wes Bridges, is our updated proposal for impasse resolution.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
All right, we'll digest it and let you know.
Okay. Did we want to look at the terminal pay again to update, to bring that in line, or do we want to do that at another date?
I think we're on. Yeah, so blended learning stipends.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So I talked to, earlier this week, we got approval
Okay.
from the Department of Education to actually amend our CARES Money Act to include blended learning stipends. They accepted the $800 for the full year. So what you have before you is the drafted MOU. And so if you and your team want to take a look at it, it's fine, and then review it, send it back to us like we normally do.
Okay.
Essentially, one of the ways, once they approved it, for me, then I went into how are we going to verify, right? How are we going to ensure that the right teacher gets their money, right? So we are in the process of coming up with a form that the APC, as Kedra Porteous, essentially is teaching 4 classes of blended learning. Heather is teaching 8 classes of blended learning. I'm gonna pick on Laura. Laura is not teaching blended learning, right? So then we can kind of go through there. We really want to establish and be clear with principals as to what blended learning is, because again, this is grant money, so we need to be clear with what the blended learning stipend will cover. And so it does not, in our view, cover those people that are just out temporarily because they have received, let's say, a student that may have been positive. So what it would mean is
So the quarantining.
The quarantining, right? Yeah. So it would essentially be blended. You would get the blended learning stipend if you're actually teaching a full class load, at least one full class load of true blended learning. And so we want to be very clear with our principals, and in turn very clear with our teachers, so everybody's on the same page. Yes.
Get a copy of that form before it goes out to the principals, and if that form comes with directives or instructions, I'm not sure.
It's a Google form, so I can send you the link to it if you want to see it.
Yeah, before it rolls out to, will it come with the directives? I'm sorry, with instructions?
Yes.
Definition, just as filled out, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be a great help if it goes out, if we get it before it goes out to the principal.
Yeah.
So we can also.
So we've not rolled out anything yet. We were just trying to plan in advance so that I could get it as soon as possible. We've talked to our team, and we're trying to plan for, if not April, then May, obviously, for the stipend to be then in their checks. So just be patient with us because we have planned for quite a few teachers to get it, but I have to also plan for principals to get it back to us. We're rolling up on spring break and all of those various holidays, so just be mindful of that. But we did want to let you know that that has been approved by the Florida Department of Education, and then we'll go from there. One of the other things, you brought up something, and I just see this here as well. Remember, it's $200 per quarter, so we're only asking for first and second quarter when it goes out to the principals. Reason being is because first and second quarter has already been completed. Third quarter is in progress. We're not going to do that one yet. And fourth quarter obviously is not here, so we're not going to do that yet. At the end of fourth quarter, we'll send the same form out to principals again and ask them for that same information, and then they will detail us. They will provide the details to us as to who is to receive the blended learning stipend, and then we'll pay them accordingly.
So when we get the forms and the directions or instructions, the definitions, how are we going to do it? That allows us to go through it, read it, vet it, and then the parties can coordinate as it begins to roll out. Because we'll get questions and phone calls and emails. So we'll kind of be on the same page. All right.
That's fine.
Everybody mute your microphones, please.
Sounded like a bathroom break.
I said tentatively, does this include inclusion support teachers? So they're not applying students directly, but they support a class that's blended.
So if they are blended learning, yes.
Okay.
Really, y'all?
Yeah, and we had dug in on our side with our state affiliate about what was kind of going on, and so For clarification too, while the CARES Act doesn't necessarily need approval from the LEA, what ended up happening is that the DOE hasn't directly just sent money down. They're housing it and they're treating it to where you expend it and then you're getting reimbursed. So that's where the approval, but
Well, wait,
it's coming
Is
in,
it-
right?
is it like that? Do we have to spend it first, or do we have to account for it first?
You do have to spend it first.
It's a reimbursement thing, right?
It is,
Okay.
but we wanted to ensure that it was eligible for
Yeah.
reimbursement.
Right, because the legislation actually says the money should physically go to you, right? It shouldn't be held up in Tallahassee. So,
But we understand
you get it.
the department that we're dealing with, and so that clarified for us more of your administrative procedures. So we understand.
And the only process that you
Side.
have to actually, for lack of a better word, funnel the money to you is this grant process that they already have. It already exists, I should say. That's the only way to kind of get it going. You see what I'm saying? So because the legislation literally says you get the cash. You get to give it to the school and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't say it gets bottled up in Tallahassee.
But again, we understand who and what you're dealing with. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we understood the administrative side that you're having to go through to get the reimbursement, because Tallahassee has not released the money the way it should have been released to you guys. They're keeping it in like this grant pillow, a bank up there, and making you guys go through these hoops to get it. So, okay, anything else on your end? Did you want to talk about terminal pay?
Yep.
Okay.
And then- So, that goes to, terminal pay. So in, I forget when, September,
Mm-hmm.
I think we signed, that was the last time we actually met. if
The
I'm not
23rd.
mistaken, Yeah. So on September 23rd, we presented to you a terminal pay change
Mm-hmm.
in policy, or a change in one board policy, but also change in how we expend terminal pay for our teachers. So we have since learned that what we proposed is not legal, essentially. One of the things that we looked at was other districts. So long and short of it is, we have to comply with what this, we can't change what the statute says. We can't offer more than what the statute says. But what we can do is, for those employees that have been here over year 13, which is where the statute is silent, we can then go ahead and offer more. And so that's what we would essentially like to do. Where is it? This is.
And it lines up, because I was looking at the board, I read through
Thank you.
the policy change, and that lines up with what they voted on Tuesday night.
Right.
Yeah.
So after year 13, and I don't think it will really have a major impact on our staff, particularly the bargaining units in which you represent. What it will do, though, is allow our staff that have more than 13 years to then still be paid out at 100%. Yeah. And so that is an increase overall. We do realize that, and a part of the reason, rather, why we proposed this in the first place was because more seasoned teachers weren't getting quite as much with the TSIA funds. And so we were trying to figure out a way to compensate and make up for that. And this is what we came up with. So we do apologize about it not necessarily aligning with the statute the first time, but we feel like the new proposal will definitely align with the statute, and then it will allow us to achieve our goal of making sure that our more seasoned and veteran teachers are appreciated for their work if they choose to leave and then choose to carry a large sick leave balance.
And I know this is something we've been wanting for a while since the statute changed, and so we were 100% on board with it. I did have a question, because I had started getting some questions, and even my talks, even with some administrators who were asking me, they were getting some questions. Since we did tentatively agree to this in September, could we honor that tentative agreement, not with the not with the years of service, because I understand that has to line up with statute, but anybody that retired or resigned at the beginning, toward the beginning of the year, you know, specifically when we signed this, could we honor that terminal leave payout to those people that resigned or retired after September 23rd to line up with the tentative agreement date? Because we found that a lot of them have resigned, not necessarily because they wanted to, but they felt like they had to because of health reasons. And so if somebody had resigned after September 23rd when we had signed this, could we honor that and pay them out accordingly? So if they had 13 years or more of experience and they carried, you know, and they cashed out their terminal leave, could we go back and give them 100% instead of 50%?
So let me see how that normally works out. To be frank, I don't think we can. That's just my gut.
Okay.
My gut tells me that we have to, one, we didn't have the policy, right? So the policy is what drives everything, even though we had the tentative agreement. And so the policy still has to line up. That's why we were trying to do it simultaneously. When we figured out, frankly, no, we couldn't do the policy, then it kind of put a kibosh on everything else.
Okay.
So I would say no, as of right now. Let me do some research just to make sure, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
And we also have to address the drop folks as well, so that.
Great. That would change a lot, so let me
That'd
see.
be an FRS question.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, will you send both the terminal and the learning site MOU electronically?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Marianne.
So we're showing teachers and saying teachers, this is available to all staff or just teachers?
No, this is the change in instructional and support staff for all three contracts for us.
That's what I understood, but because we're sending it out over the airwaves and we just talked basically teacher, I wanted to make sure that was clear.
So I apologize, Marianne, that was my fault. I said, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I said teachers, but yes, I did mean, I think I said this, the bargaining units in which you represent. So it would specifically be for those bargaining units.
I appreciate it. This is something we've talked about for a long time and I think will actually help with making people more reticent to use sick leave for things that are not actually necessary.
Agreed. Hopefully, we'll see. Thank you.
No, I was just going to point out on the left-hand side of our agenda, it talks about the 3 bargaining units and then all of those topics underneath. So that means that it covers all 3 of those.
All right. So we'll get back with you. I wish to get back next week.
Okay. And Laura, I'm working on cleaning up, you know, getting the contracts ready. I'll make sure the payroll MOU that we agreed to back, I guess, a long time ago, feels like in a lifetime ago, that it lines up with and I'll send you that suggestion.
MOUs on the agenda. You got the reference.
So
I'm actually out next Monday and Tuesday. I'll do some research. Can we have a response to you? I know that we have impasse scheduled, or the legislative body hearing scheduled for the 16th. Can we give it to you maybe no later than the 10th? Is that too late?
no, I think that's fine.
So we'll have something back to you no later than the 10th. I think that will give our team enough time
On
to
salaries.
digest everything.
On salaries.
I'm sorry?
On salaries.
Yes.
Yeah, I that's perfectly fine. We can bargain all the way up to the legislature.
Right, great. No, I just want to
So
make
yeah,
sure that
we're
we
good
have
with
enough
that.
time to give you accurate information, and then you all have enough time to digest it and then review it. And go.
All right.
Oh, you buy lunch next time.
Gotta pick up my phone.
They buy lunch next time. Okay.
All right.
When you have that form, the better learning form, though?
Actually, I was reviewing it. We're pretty close to being done. The only caveat that I would say to you is if we give it out, it's not public.
No.
And so that would be, something that we go back and forth on.
Yeah.
I would like to ask that you don't provide it to anybody else
Mhm.
yet, because again, our principals haven't seen it. And so, just make sure that we keep it, as confidential as we can in the public records laws, et cetera, before we do anything.
I agree, it's a work product issue, so yes.
Anything else? My team?
All right. Thank you guys so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too.
We're adjourned. PA negotiations, February 25th, 2020.